This is the story of one woman's terrifying experience of being stalked by a stranger, which has a shocking ending. Saturday, 29th of March 2008 in Los Angeles, Amber Dewick received an email from someone called Sebastian Bowler, but she didn't think she knew him, although he seemed to know her. The email read, "Amber mate, coming to Los Angeles, gonna lay low at your place for a bit till it all blows over. Bringing trigger," end quote. Amber was mystified by this email. She had no idea who this person was who said he was coming to stay with her till it blows over, whatever it was, and bringing trigger, whoever trigger was. She showed the message to her boyfriend, who she lived with, but he couldn't shed any light either. You're watching The Why Files with me, Claire Patterson, where I tell you true life stories with a large serving of mystery, stories that make you ask, why? Amber has no idea who this Sebastian person is. You can just imagine it, can't you? Racking your brain, try and work out who sent you this email. I'd probably convinced myself it was a coincidence and my emails got somehow mixed up with another Amber. But the next day, Sunday 30th of March, she gets another email that proves it was no coincidence. This time the email said, quote, "Amber, this is your gaff, right? Looks all right, mate. Nice place to hide out. We don't need much though, just a couch and a telly. Trigger don't throw up much anymore, but put some newspaper down in case," end quote. She must have felt a chill go down her back then, because there was an address included in the email, described as her gaff, and it was her address. Well, her previous address. So she wasn't living there anymore, but Sebastian seemed to know so much more about her than she knew about him. She was about to learn a little bit more about him though. That email also included a link to his MySpace account, which was like Facebook before Facebook. Sebastian's MySpace page said he was 25 years old, single, from England but now living in the US, and a football fan, or as the Americans say, soccer, who enjoyed drinking alcohol to excess. On the MySpace page, there were pictures of a pit bull dog and a picture of Sebastian himself that was described as being taken right before the riot. Seeing the MySpace page did nothing to jog Amber's memory. She was sure she'd never met Sebastian Bowler. But with him making it clear that he knew her address, or at least her previous address, she warned the neighbours and the residents at that address, telling them to contact the police immediately if they saw him. The same day, Amber receives another email from Sebastian, second that day. Quote, "All right, Amber, I'm on the road. I seem to have lost the coppers for now, so I'm all good, mate," end quote. So the next email she gets says he's checking into a hotel, but soon after that she gets another email from him. Quote, "Amber ran into a little trouble at the hotel. Anyway, me and Trigger had to spend the night in the car," end quote. There's a link in this email which took Amber to photos of Sebastian on the roof of the hotel doing obscene gestures, and there's a picture of a broken TV on the floor outside the hotel. It's not just emails from Sebastian now though. The next one is from the manager of the hotel, or motel, apparently it was a motel, that Sebastian had just been kicked out of, saying he had told them to redirect the bill for the room and the TV repairs to Amber. She doesn't want to be stuck with this bill, obviously, but phoning the motel's phone number just gives a recorded message saying press 1, press 2, etc. When you press 2 for accounting, it just said to leave a message, but no one ever called back and no one ever picked up the phone. So this is all happening over 5 days, which doesn't sound that long, but when you think about how terrified Amber must have been, it must have felt like a really, really long 5 days. She's since said she couldn't sleep. She got a boyfriend to sleep with weapons by the bed, walk her to and from a car when she had to leave the house. She felt physically ill. She couldn't concentrate on anything and couldn't do her job properly. The next email from Sebastian had the subject line, "Be there soon." This email's all about how he was almost there, he'd had a brush with the law, but he hopes he'll have lost them by the time he gets to Amber. And then there's just a throwaway line at the end. "Check out this movie I saw. The actor looks just like that bloke that we know," end quote. And there's another link to another video. This one shows Sebastian driving into a drive-in cinema, and there's a film playing that's called Imbecile. And there's an old man sitting at a desk, he's eating, and there's spooky music playing in the background. And on the desk there's a photograph of someone that this time Amber does recognise. It's a picture of one of her friends. So in the film, the old man laughs and then he explains directly to Amber that all the emails and all the attachments from Sebastian were a prank. And it was actually an advertising campaign for a Toyota car called The Matrix. The ad campaign was called Your Other You, and it claimed to give people a chance to live an alternative life. But you didn't sign yourself up for it. A friend would sign you up to get pranked, you'd get an email to a personality test, you agreed to the T's and C's, which are legalese and described as indecipherable. The consent form never said she was going to be duped, just that she was signing up to receive emails and signing up to a 5-day experience. Amber was so embarrassed about the whole thing. She'd warned her friends and her neighbours about this stalker. She'd even contacted an old lady who ran an email list for homing stray dogs to ask if there was any chance that the stalker had come through the email list somehow and to warn her about the threat. So what did this experience have to do with cars? According to Toyota and Saatchi & Saatchi, the ad agency who came up with it, the campaign was designed to appeal to their target market of male 20-somethings who hate advertising. The idea was that men in their 20s love pranking or punking their friends. This was around the time of the TV programme Punk'd, hosted by Ashton Kutcher. The campaign was very elaborate. It allowed people to choose a friend and then choose a character from a list of 5 people, described as maniacs, to send these emails to that friend over 5 days. The person who sets up their friend gets to track the progress of the campaign in real time. Saatchi's creative director was quoted as saying the campaign was all about, quote, empowering the customer. We wanted them to be involved and to feel like they were part of the process, end quote. But of course, Amber felt the opposite of empowered. Toyota and Saatchi claim that the whole process was well received by many people who participated. Now, I can't see from the sources whether that means the people who set up the prank or the victims of the pranks, but I suspect it's the first one. One source, Simon Haupt, writing for the Globe and Mail, said it was just Toyota's bad luck that it wound up in front of someone who felt terrorised by it, end quote. We might only know about Amber's case because she made it public, but I can't believe there was no one else who felt terrorised by emails from strangers described as a maniac, saying they're coming to your home. One guy called Connor Brady said it was obviously fictional and he wouldn't have got fooled. Slight difference between Amber and Connor though, apart from their gender, which is likely to affect the way someone reacts to emails from an apparent stalker. Connor was at the time the chief creative officer of a digital marketing agency. And these 5 characters were Google proof. They had MySpace pages, email addresses, pictures and videos of themselves, and there was even that phone number and recorded messages set up for the fake motel that Sebastian apparently owed money to. So after feeling anything but empowered by this awful experience, Amber took matters into her own hands and sued for compensation from Toyota and Saatchi & Saatchi. She claimed for $10 million in damages. The defendants argued that Amber had consented to the experience by filling in the personality test and giving her consent to receive emails as part of that 5-day experience. And yes, she had given her consent, but the courts now had to decide if it was valid consent. Remember, the consent was described as indecipherable, so even if she'd read every single word, it didn't say anywhere in there that she was agreeing to be tricked. And a California appeals court found in Amber's favour, not over the whole thing, but saying that she did have a case against the defendants and that pranks could actually constitute contract fraud. In the end, it was settled out of court, so we don't know how much Amber actually received, but it sent a clear message that companies cannot just hide behind indecipherable consent and then do whatever they want. What do you think about this? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, you might like this one too. Thanks for watching.